At my sister Chloe's engagement party, my mother, Victoria, screamed that I cancel my wedding and pay $100,000 0 cents for Chloe's, then hurled a scalding coffee carafe at my face when I refused. But when Ethan stormed in and revealed my secret millions, Mom collapsed in shock because the coffee carafe hit my face like a firebomb, glass exploding against my skin, scalding liquid searing my cheeks. I screamed, stumbling backward, hands clawing at my face as the world blurred into a haze of pain and humiliation. My mother, Victoria, stood over me, her manicured nails still curled around the handle, her eyes wild with rage. "You ungrateful little bitch," she hissed, loud enough for the 50 guests in our backyard to hear. The string quartet faltered, their notes dissolving into stunned silence. My sister Chloe's engagement party, a glittering showcase of Seattle's suburban excess, had just imploded, and I was the collateral damage. I'm Olivia Bennett, 30 years old, a cybersecurity consultant who thought she had it all figured out. I was engaged to Ethan Carter, the kind of guy who builds AI startups to change the world, not just to cash out. We had our lives mapped out, a quiet wedding at a Whidbey Island vineyard, a cozy craftsman home in Capitol Hill, a future built on mutual respect and shared dreams. But that Saturday afternoon, as I stood dripping with coffee, blood, and betrayal, I realized how fragile plans can be when your family sees you as a walking ATM. Let me take you back to where it all began, to the peeling gray split-level house in Redmond where I grew up, a stone's throw from Microsoft's sprawling campus. Seattle's tech boom was the backdrop of my childhood, but my mother, Victoria, was the real force shaping it. She wasn't a tech mogul or a startup founder. She was a socialite, the kind who'd spend hours perfecting her blonde bob and designer scarves to impress the neighbors. To her, status was oxygen and she'd suffocate without it. My father, Richard, was her opposite, a soft-spoken software engineer who spent his days debugging code and his evenings promising to repaint the house. He never did. He was full of good intentions, but when it came to standing up to Mom, his spine was as flexible as a wet noodle. Then there was Chloe, my younger sister by 3 years, the golden child who could do no wrong. She had Dad's easy charm and blue eyes that sparkled like Puget Sound on a clear day. From the moment she was born, Mom doted on her, dressing her in frilly outfits while I got hand-me-downs. Chloe coasted through life with a D average, her social calendar packed with parties and boyfriends, while I buried myself in books and code. "Why can't you be more like Chloe?" Mom would snap when I'd come home with another perfect report card. It didn't matter that I was captain of the coding club or that I'd built my first app at 14. To Mom, my achievements were invisible unless they came with a social media spotlight. At 16, I got a taste of just how far Mom's resentment could go. I'd won a scholarship to a prestigious coding camp at Stanford, a chance to rub shoulders with tech prodigies. I was ecstatic, clutching the acceptance letter like a lifeline. But when I showed it to Mom, her face twisted like I'd spat in her coffee. "We can't afford to send you gallivanting to California," she said, her voice sharp as a blade. "That money's for Chloe's dance recital costumes," I argued, calmly at first, pointing out the scholarship covered everything. She didn't care. She grabbed her car keys, ordered me into the SUV, and sped off toward the mall, ranting about my selfish ambitions. Her hands shook on the wheel, her words venomous. "You think you're better than us, don't you?" she screamed, swerving into oncoming traffic. A truck blared its horn, tires screeching as she jerked the car back. My heart pounded, my hands gripping the door handle. We didn't crash, but that moment burned into me. My mother's anger was a force that could destroy us both. I learned early to keep my dreams quiet. College was my escape plan, a secret rebellion. While Mom pushed me toward community college to save money, I applied to MIT behind her back. When the acceptance letter arrived, with a partial scholarship, I hid it under my mattress for a week, terrified of her reaction. When I finally showed her, the explosion was apocalyptic. "Who's paying for this?" she demanded, waving the letter like it was a death threat. "We've been saving for Chloe's education." It was the first time I saw the truth laid bare. Every penny, every plan was for Chloe. I was the afterthought, expected to scrape by. "I'll pay for it myself," I said, my voice trembling but resolute. And I did. Night was a crucible. I juggled scholarships, student loans, and late-night coding gigs for startups, sleeping maybe 4 hours a night. I coded apps for local businesses, debugged systems for cash-strapped entrepreneurs, even built a prototype for a fintech startup that later sold for millions. My classmates partied in Boston's dive bars. I waited tables at a trendy Cambridge restaurant, serving venture capitalists who became my first mentor. It was brutal, but it forged me. I learned to rely on myself, to trust my instincts, to build a life no one could take away. My grandmother Eleanor was my anchor through those years. A retired programmer who'd worked on mainframes in the 70s, she saw the same fire in me that she'd had. "Don't let anyone dim your spark, Olivia," she'd say during our weekly Skype calls, her voice crackling with pride. When she passed away during my senior year, I was gutted. She left me $100,000, 0 cents, with a note: "Chase your dreams, my girl. They're worth it." That money became my secret weapon, a nest egg I never told my family about. It wasn't enough to erase my loans, but it gave me freedom to take risks, to say no to desperation. After MIT, I landed a job at Nexus Cyber, a Seattle firm protecting Fortune 500 companies from hackers. I negotiated a 6-figure salary and stock options, mapping out a 10-year plan to become CTO. Mom's reaction? "At least you'll have health insurance." Typical. She didn't know I'd already outmaneuvered colleagues twice my age, securing contracts that saved companies millions. Meanwhile, Chloe dropped out of community college to find herself, cycling through retail jobs and racking up credit card debt. Mom and Dad bailed her out every time, while I was expected to fend for myself. The demands started small. "Can you cover Chloe's phone bill?" Mom would ask, her tone implying it was my duty. Then it escalated, co-signing Chloe's car loan, paying her rent when she forgot to budget. "She's your sister," Mom would say, guilt dripping from every word. I loved Chloe, despite our differences, but I hated being treated like a bank. The resentment grew, a slow burn that ate at me during late-night coding sessions. Then came the first real betrayal. I was pitching a multi-million-dollar contract to a tech giant, my shot at a promotion to lead consultant. My phone buzzed incessantly. Creditors chasing Chloe's debts. I'd never given them my number, but Mom had. She'd leaked my work email to them, thinking it would motivate me to help Chloe. I fumbled the pitch, my focus shattered, and nearly lost the deal. I salvaged it, but the damage was done. My boss questioned my reliability. That night, I cried in my apartment, wondering if family was worth the cost. 8 years after MIT, I was a lead consultant at Nexus, securing contracts that made headlines in TechCrunch. My office overlooked Elliott Bay, a daily reminder of how far I'd come. At a fundraiser for tech education, I met Ethan. He wasn't the typical tech bro, flashing Rolexes and stock options. His AI startup aimed to bring free learning tools to underserved schools. Over glasses of Pinot Noir, we debated algorithms and impact metrics, and I knew I'd met someone who saw the world like I did. He proposed a year later, under a starry sky on a kayak in Puget Sound. No flash mobs, no jumbotrons. Just us, the water, and a promise. We planned a $50,000 0-cents wedding at a Whidbey Island vineyard, intimate and meaningful, for 60 of our closest friends and family. Mom's reaction was predictably cold. "A vineyard at your age?" she said, inspecting my sapphire engagement ring like it was a thrift store find. Dad offered a mumbled "congrats," while Chloe launched into plans for a bachelorette party she assumed she'd throw. But Mom's calls soon turned to Chloe's new boyfriend, Logan, a musician from a supposedly wealthy family. 6 months later, Chloe was engaged, and Mom was planning a blowout engagement party at their newly renovated Redmond home. I knew what was coming. Alicia, my best friend, warned me over brunch. "They're setting you up, Liv," she said, stabbing her avocado toast. "Chloe's marrying a broke artist, and your mom's going to hit you up for cash. Mark my words." I should have listened. The week before the party, I had nightmares. Trapped in our old house, walls closing in. Mom's voice screaming until I woke up gasping. Ethan kissed me goodbye that Friday, his investor demo running late. "Call if you need me," he said. "I'll be there in 3 hours." I laughed it off. "It's just a weekend. I've got this." Famous last words. The drive to Redmond was a gauntlet of self-pep talks. Set boundaries. Don't fall for guilt trips. But as I pulled into the cul-de-sac, nostalgia hit hard. Kids on bikes, the faint hum of lawnmowers. The gray house still peeling despite Dad's promises. Then danger struck. A black SUV roared out of nowhere, sideswiping my Tesla. The driver, reeking of whiskey, smirked before speeding off. I was shaken but unhurt. My car's fender crumpled. Later, I'd learned he was hired by one of Logan's shady associates, who'd heard rumors of my wealth and wanted to intimidate me. At the time, I chalked it up to bad luck, parked, and walked into the lion's den. Dad greeted me with an awkward hug, taking my overnight bag. "Your mom's been cooking," he said, the house smelling of rosemary and bleach. Chloe squealed, rushing down the stairs in a cloud of Chanel No. 5. "Liv, you're here." Her hug felt real, but her chatter about Logan, "He's amazing," set my nerves on edge. Logan was conveniently absent, networking with music execs, Chloe said, unconcerned that her fiancé was skipping the family dinner. Dinner was a master class in tension. Mom grilled me about wedding plans, her tone dripping with judgment. A vineyard so rustic. Chloe's planning something elegant. Dad stayed silent, his usual tactic. After dessert, I overheard Mom and Chloe in the pantry, their voices sharp. "You said they'd help with the costs," Chloe whined. "They will," Mom replied. "Logan's parents are just illiquid right now. We need that venue payment in 2 weeks." My stomach sank. Alicia was right. This was a setup. The next morning, the house buzzed with caterers and decorators, transforming the backyard into a bridal magazine spread. White roses, crystal flutes, a string quartet. Mom had spared no expense. Logan appeared at noon, all Hollywood charm and wandering eyes, sizing up my smartwatch like it was a Rolex. "The famous sister," he said, his hug too tight, his smile too slick. His friends, a pack of unemployed trust fund kids, made crude jokes about marrying up. One slurred, "Logan hit the jackpot with your family." My gut twisted. But Chloe pulled me away to meet Logan's parents, who were tense, their smiles forced. "Chloe speaks highly of your skills," Mrs. Norton said, her tone implying dollar signs. As guests arrived, my anxiety spiked. Ethan texted, "Demo done. Stuck in traffic. 1 hour out." I retreated to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face, whispering, "You're a badass cybersecurity expert. You can handle this." But the sinking feeling grew. The party was a powder keg, and I was the spark. At 3:00 p.m., Chloe and Logan made their grand entrance, though they'd been mingling all day. Chloe's blush pink dress screamed money. Logan's suit tailored to perfection. "We have exciting news," Chloe announced, her voice carrying over the lawn. Their wedding plans were a fantasy. Chateau Saint Michel, a Vera Wang gown, a 7-tier cake by a celebrity chef, a 3-week Maldives honeymoon. With each detail, my chest tightened. This wasn't a plan. It was a financial catastrophe. "We're so blessed to have supportive families," Chloe said, her eyes locking on mine. Mom raised a champagne flute. "To Chloe and Logan, and those who'll make their dreams come true." The toast was a dagger, aimed at me. I sipped my drink, plotting an escape, maybe a fake work emergency. But Mom cornered me by the dessert table. "Olivia, darling, a private word?" She led me to Dad's study, closing the door. "Isn't this wonderful? Chloe's found her soulmate." Her smile was all teeth. "But the Nortons are having liquidity issues. Chloe deserves her dream wedding." I braced myself. "How much?" I asked, voice flat. "Just $100,000 0 cents," she said, as if it were pocket change. "Maybe more for the honeymoon." I laughed, a bitter sound. "That's twice my wedding budget. Ethan and I are buying a house. I'm not bankrolling Chloe's fantasy." Mom's face darkened. "After all we've done for you, the sacrifices?" "What sacrifices?" I shot back. "I paid for Imiti myself. I built my career alone." "We gave you a home," she snapped. "That's not a blank check I owe you," I said, heading for the door. She followed, her voice rising. "You'd let Chloe's dreams die because you're too selfish to share?" Guests stared as we spilled into the hallway. "This isn't about dreams," I said. "It's about enabling bad choices." Mom lost it. "Everyone," she shouted, drawing the crowd's attention. "My daughter, the big shot consultant, thinks her money's too good for her sister." Chloe rushed over, confused. "Mom, what's happening?" "Olivia refuses to help with your wedding," Mom declared. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Chloe's face crumpled. "Liv, is that true?" "I'm not discussing this here," I said, my voice shaking. That's when Mom grabbed the carafe from the refreshment table. Time slowed as she swung it, glass shattering against my face, hot coffee burning my skin. I screamed, falling to my knees, blood mixing with coffee on my dress. "Look what you made me do!" Mom shrieked. "You've ruined everything!" Guests froze, horrified. Chloe covered her mouth. Logan's eyes gleamed with calculation. I was a spectacle, humiliated in front of strangers. Then Ethan burst through the door. He took one look, me bleeding, Mom defiant, the crowd agog, and rushed to my side. "What the hell happened?" he demanded, checking my face. Mom switched to charm mode. "Just a family spat, Ethan." Olivia was being difficult. His jaw clenched. "You smashed a carafe on her face because she wouldn't pay for Chloe's wedding? It was an accident, Mom lied. Ethan's voice turned to steel. I've heard enough about your family, Victoria. Olivia has been paying your mortgage for 5 years, $3,000, 0 cents a month, anonymously. Did you know that? The crowd gasped. Mom paled. What? And Chloe? Ethan continued. Did you know Olivia paid off your $50,000, 0 cents credit card debt? She told the bank to call it a glitch so you wouldn't feel indebted. Chloe's mouth fell open. That was you! Ethan wasn't done. Olivia's not just a consultant. She's a partner at Nexus with a net worth you can't imagine. She hides it because she doesn't want to be your ATM. My secret was out, exposed in the wreckage of Chloe's party. Dad stepped forward, voice trembling. Olivia, is this true? I nodded, tears mixing with blood. I didn't want you to lose the house. Mom sputtered. She lives so modestly. How could she? Because she's smart, Ethan snapped. She invests in people, not status. Unlike you. Logan edged closer, eyes glinting. Chloe never mentioned her sister was so accomplished. His interest made my skin crawl. I stood shaky but defiant. I hid my success because I wanted love, not your greed. Mom tried damage control. Olivia, if we'd known, we wouldn't have asked. You asked because I'm a resource, not a daughter, I cut in. Dad spoke, his voice breaking. Victoria, have we been using her? Mom floundered, unaccustomed to his challenge. Ethan guided me toward the door. We're leaving. Olivia needs a hospital. As we moved, I slipped on spilled wine, nearly tumbling down the backyard spiral staircase. A guest grabbed my arm just in time, my heart racing from the near fall. Outside, Ethan noticed a black van idling across the street. The same one from my earlier accident. We're being followed, he whispered, urgency in his voice. At the ER, doctors confirmed burns, cuts, and a concussion. My phone buzzed with messages. Chloe's shock, Dad's apologies, Mom's gaslighting. Then an anonymous email pinged. Ask about Victoria's deal with the Norterns. It's not what you think. My blood ran cold. What had my mother done? As we checked into a hotel, Ethan held me close. I'm sorry I outed your secrets, he said. I couldn't let her hurt you like that. I leaned into him, the weight of my double life lifting. Maybe it needed to happen. But the anonymous email gnawed at me. What was Mom hiding? And why was that van following us? The party was over, but the real storm was just beginning. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret, a sterile contrast to the chaos of Chloe's engagement party still burning in my mind. My face throbbed where the glass carafe had shattered, leaving cuts and burns that the ER doctor warned might scar. I sat on the crinkly paper of the exam table, Ethan's hand steady in mine, his jaw tight as he scrolled through the flood of notifications on my phone. The video of my mother, Victoria, smashing the carafe against my head was already viral, racking up thousands of views on X. Comments ranged from horrified, who throws coffee at their kid, to cruel, rich girl had it coming. My professional life, meticulously built over a decade, teetered on the edge of collapse. I was Olivia Bennett, a 30-year-old cybersecurity consultant who'd clawed her way to a silent partnership at Nexus Cyber with a net worth north of $10 million. 0 cents. But in that moment, I felt like the scared teenager from Redmond, trapped under my mother's shadow. Ethan squeezed my hand. We'll get through this, Liv, I promise. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed worry. The anonymous email from the party lingered in my mind. Ask about Victoria's deal with the Nortons. It's not what you think. What was Mom hiding? And why had that black van followed us from the party? My concussion made it hard to focus, but the questions gnawed at me, sharp as the glass still embedded in my cheek. We didn't go back to my parents' house. Instead, Ethan booked us into a boutique hotel in downtown Seattle, its sleek glass walls overlooking Pike Place Market. Room service brought clam chowder and a bottle of Washington Riesling, but I barely touched it. My phone buzzed relentlessly, Chloe demanding answers, Dad's halting apologies, Mom's delusional claim that the carafe attack was a misunderstanding. Then there was Aunt Karen, Mom's sister, texting about investment opportunities now that she knew my net worth. I handed the phone to Ethan. "Turn it off," I said, my voice hollow. "I can't deal with them right now." He nodded, powering it down. "They can wait. You need rest." But rest was a fantasy. That night, I dreamed of the van chasing me through Seattle's rain-soaked streets, its headlights glinting like a predator's eyes. I woke up gasping, Ethan's arm around me, his whispered assurances grounding me. "You're safe," he said. But I wasn't so sure. The next morning, I called Dr. Lauren Hayes, my therapist, for an emergency session. She fit me in at her Belltown office, a cozy space with succulents and a view of the Space Needle. "What your mother did was assault," Lauren said, her voice firm but kind. "There's no justifying it, no matter how heated the argument." I stared at the floor, the memory of scalding coffee searing my skin. "She's never been violent before," I said, almost defending her. "Not physically," Lauren corrected, "but emotionally? This is an escalation of patterns you've described for years. Control, manipulation, favoritism." She leaned forward. "You need to set boundaries, Olivia. And you might need legal protection." Legal protection. The words felt like a betrayal, but Lauren was right. Mom's behavior was spiraling. I hired a lawyer that afternoon, a no-nonsense woman named Rachel Kim who specialized in restraining orders. "We've got a strong case," Rachel said, reviewing the viral video and witness statements. "But your mother's unpredictable. Stay vigilant." Her warning echoed as I left her office, scanning the street for that black van. Was it paranoia? Or was someone really watching me? Back in Nexus, my professional life was unraveling. The board called an emergency meeting to discuss the public relations crisis caused by the video. My boss, Carla Nguyen, met me in the lobby, her expression grim. "Clients are nervous, Olivia. They trust you with their data, but this scandal's making them question your stability." I felt like I'd been punched. "I'm the victim here," I said, my voice cracking. "I know," Carla said, "but perception matters. You need to address the board, convince them you're still an asset." The meeting was scheduled for Friday. 3 days to prepare a defense for a job I'd poured my life into. The pressure was crushing, like a vice tightening around my chest. That evening, as Ethan and I ate takeout sushi in our hotel room, he showed me the X-thread Mom had posted during the party. "Olivia hoards her wealth while her sister struggles," it read, followed by a string of half-truths about my selfishness. It had 10,000 retweets with hashtags like "ungrateful daughter" trending. "This could tank your career," Ethan said, his voice tight. "We need to fight back." I shook my head. "Not yet. I need to understand what she's hiding." That anonymous email gnawed at me, a puzzle piece that didn't fit. What deal did Mom have with Logan's family? The next day, Chloe showed up at my office unannounced, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, her eyes red from crying. The receptionist buzzed me, apologetic. "She's making a scene, Olivia." I sighed and let her in. Chloe paced my office, her voice shrill. "Why didn't you tell me you were loaded? I've been drowning in bills and you're sitting on millions?" I stared at her, incredulous. "You're upset about my money, not the fact that Mom smashed a carafe on my face." She froze, guilt flickering across her face. "She said it was an accident, that you pushed her too far." I laughed, a bitter sound. "Do you believe that, Chloe? Or are you just parroting her?" She sank into a chair, deflated. "I don't know what to believe. Logan's acting weird, his parents backed out of the wedding funds, and Mom's losing it. She says, you're ruining everything." I softened, seeing the confusion in her eyes. "How do you feel about all this?" I asked, surprising myself. It was the first time I'd cared about her emotions, not her demands. "Scared," she admitted, "embarrassed, guilty. I didn't realize how Mom treated you differently. I thought, I don't know, that you were just the responsible one." It wasn't an apology, but it was raw, honest. For a moment, I saw the sister I'd wanted, not the rival Mom had made her. But the moment shattered when Logan texted me later that day, his message dripping with opportunism. "Heard you're a big player at Nexus. Let's talk investments. Could save Chloe's wedding." I deleted it, my skin crawling. Ethan, digging into Logan's background, uncovered a bombshell. Logan had a criminal record for fraud, scamming investors in a failed music startup. "He's using Chloe to get to you," Ethan said, showing me the court records. "His music label is a front." My mind raced to the anonymous email. Was Mom in on it? Had she been funneling money to Logan's schemes, betting on my wealth to cover her losses? Danger struck again that night. As I left Nexus, I noticed my Tesla's tires were slashed. A note tucked under the windshield wiper. "Family pays, or you'll regret it." The handwriting was Mom's, unmistakable from years of her passive-aggressive post-its. I called Rachel, who filed for an emergency restraining order. "This is escalation," she warned. "Don't go anywhere alone." Ethan insisted on hiring a private security firm, their discreet SUV now tailing us everywhere. The black van from the party hadn't reappeared, but I felt its shadow, a constant reminder that someone, maybe Logan, maybe Mom, was watching. The board meeting loomed like a guillotine. I spent hours preparing, my concussion making every slide a battle. Carla coached me, but the stakes were brutal. Lose the board's trust, and I'd lose my partnership. Meanwhile, a rival firm, CyberShield, started poaching our clients, citing my instability as a liability. I worked 80-hour weeks, patching vulnerabilities in client systems while fending off ex-trolls and family drama. Sleep became a distant memory, my nights haunted by dreams of Mom's rage and that van's headlights. Dad called, his voice heavy with shame. "I'm so sorry, Olivia. I let your mother control everything. Our marriage, our family. I should have stopped her." I wanted to believe him, but years of his silence stung. "Why now, Dad?" I asked. "Because I saw her hurt you," he said, "and I learned you've been paying our mortgage." I didn't know. He was starting therapy, he said, to untangle himself from Mom's grip. It was a start, but trust would take time. Mom's behavior grew erratic. She showed up at Nexus, screaming in the lobby until security escorted her out. She sent a bouquet of lilies, my least favorite flower, with a card, "Families fight, but we forgive." I threw it in the trash. Chloe's social media told a different story. Her wedding posts vanished, replaced by prick-dick quotes about betrayal. Mutual friends whispered that Logan was cheating, his music career a lie to milk his trust fund. I felt for Chloe, but her silence about the carafe incident hurt. Was she still Mom's pawn? Then came a breakthrough. Ethan traced the anonymous email to a burner account linked to Logan's associate, a lowlife named Vince, who'd sideswiped my car. Vince had sent the email to start trouble, hoping to pressure me into bailing out Logan's failing label. But the email's mention of Mom's deal with the Nortons was real. I dug into public records and found a trail. Mom had wired $20,000, 0 cents to Logan's label, listed as a consulting fee. Why? Was she investing in his scam? Or was there more? The discovery felt like a grenade, its pin half pulled. The board meeting was a crucible. Dressed in a navy blazer, my face still bandaged, I faced 10 executives in a glass-walled conference room. I'm the same consultant who secured $50 million, 0 cents in contracts last year, I said. My voice steadied despite my nerves. My personal life doesn't change my ability to protect our clients. I presented a plan to rebuild trust, client outreach, a public statement, and enhanced security protocols. The board was split, but Carla's support tipped the scales. They gave me a month to stabilize our accounts, a lifeline I clung to. That night, danger struck again. As Ethan and I left a late dinner at Canlis, the black van reappeared, tailing us through Seattle's rain-slick streets. Our security team intervened, forcing the van to peel off, but not before I glimpsed Vince in the driver's seat. Ethan called the police, who linked Vince to Logan's creditors. A shady group owed $500,000, 0 cents. They think you're their golden ticket. The detectives stay low until we track them down. Fear became my shadow, but I refused to hide. Chloe reached out, asking to meet at a Capitol Hill coffee shop. I hesitated but agreed, security trailing me. She looked different, hollowed out, her usual sparkle dimmed. "Logan's gone," she said, stirring her latte. "He was using me to get to your money. I found texts him and his mom plotting to pressure you." Her voice broke. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. And I'm sorry about Mom. I didn't know how bad it was for you. I wanted to stay angry, but her vulnerability cracked my defenses. Why didn't you say anything after the party?" I asked. She looked away. "I was scared. Mom convinced me you were the problem, but I'm done with her lies." She'd moved into a studio apartment, started therapy, and was working as a barista. "I want to be better," she said. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Mom's fraud charge hit the news a week later. Chloe broke the story. Mom had been laundering money through Logan's label, believing his promises of quick returns. When his schemes collapsed, she'd turned to me to cover the losses. The court mandated therapy and froze her accounts, leaving Dad to navigate their crumbling marriage. He moved into a small condo, meeting me for weekly lunches to rebuild our bond. "I failed you," he said over pho one rainy afternoon. "But I'm here now." His honesty was a balm, though scars remained. The final twist came in a letter from Grandma Eleanor, found in a safe deposit box Dad uncovered. "Olivia," it read, "your mother's greed stems from a secret she's buried since college. If you're reading this, it's time to dig." My pulse raced. What had Mom hidden? A debt? A betrayal? The letter hinted at a family scandal tied to her past, one she'd kill to keep buried. I vowed to uncover it, but not yet. I had a wedding to plan. 6 months later, I stood in a Whidbey Island vineyard, my lace veil catching the breeze. Ethan smiled at me, his eyes warm with love. Dad walked me down the aisle, his presence a quiet victory. Chloe, a bridesmaid, handed me Eleanor's sapphire pendant, her eyes misty. "Grandma would have loved this," she said. Our relationship was healing, built on honesty, not obligation. Mom wasn't there. She'd refused my conditions, acknowledged the assault, commit to change. Her absence hurt, but it was her choice. The ceremony was everything we'd dreamed, intimate, with waves crashing nearby and 60 loved ones cheering. Dad's toast was heartfelt, acknowledging my strength without dwelling on pain. Chloe danced with Ethan's cousin, her laughter free of pretense. As Ethan and I swayed to our first dance, he whispered, "We made it." I nodded, tears of joy blurring the stars. The carafe incident had shattered my old life, but from the wreckage, I'd built something real. Relationships rooted in respect, a future chosen, not owed. Coley found me later, sitting on the vineyard's stone steps, the ocean glinting under moonlight. "Mom's in therapy," she said. "Court-ordered, but she's trying." I nodded, unsure what to feel. "And I found this." She handed me a budget for her new barista job, asking for advice, not money. "Lunch next week?" I offered. Her smile was answer enough. As Ethan and I left amid sparklers, I clutched Eleanor's letter, its mystery unresolved. Mom's secret loomed, a shadow I'd face in time. But for now, I was free to love, to heal, to build a life unburdened by greed. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was ready. Pain had been my catalyst, and from it I'd forged something unbreakable.